Inheriting wealth doesn't mean just receiving assets. It means stepping into an existing framework, one that is shaped by trust structures, strategic decisions, and long-term family goals. For many inheritors, this moment represents a shift from participant to decision maker. With that shift comes the need to understand not only what you receive, but how it's designed to function. For example, imagine your family ranch has been held in a trust for decades. While your parents or grandparents were alive, a single trustee handled day-to-day decisions, and you may have only visited the ranch or received periodic income. Now, as leadership transitions, you've been asked to step into a more active role, perhaps as a co-trustee alongside a cousin, or as one of the several beneficiaries whose approval is needed to make major decisions. One branch of the family may be more focused on, say, preserving the ranch for future generations, while the other is more business-focused and concerned with income or liquidity. Even though the ranch itself hasn't really changed, your involvement has, and so has the need to understand how the trust balances shared ownership, family dynamics, and long-term goals. Today's goal is to help you understand how to take the reins and how the different pieces of family wealth structures fit together around you. When we talk about strategy at this level, we're no longer focused solely on accounts or assets. We're talking about family governance, the framework that aligns interests, expectations, and decision rights across generations. In this context, it means defining who participates in decisions, how those decisions are made, and how conflicts are resolved. It also means clarifying why certain decisions matter, which is the underlying purpose and guiding capital through time. This creates a structure where decisions aren't left to chance, but are guided by shared values and agreed upon processes to effectively plan for the future. However, even the most carefully drafted strategy documents cannot anticipate every situation. What ultimately sustains a family strategy is how authority is exercised in moments of discretion. In many families, different stakeholders are involved, so governance is implemented to balance the interest of all parties and clarify who has decision-making authority in different situations. To maintain fairness in decision-making, a strong framework rests on a few underlying principles: competence, objectivity, collaboration, and integrity. Circumstances and situations may change as multiple generations step into new roles. Therefore, family governance shouldn't lose sight of the family's core values, but should allow for progression of evolving needs. A family trust often reflects a deliberate decision, shaping how wealth is preserved and accessed across generations. One of the first distinctions is between principal and income. Principal refers to the original assets placed into the trust: cash, securities, real estate, or other property. Income is what those assets generate over time, such as interest, dividends, rents, or royalties. The trust documents will specify whether beneficiaries are entitled to income, principal, or both, and under what conditions. Another key distinction is between mandatory and discretionary distributions. In some cases, net income distributions begin automatically when you reach a certain age and continue in certain intervals. If distributions are discretionary, the beneficiary would need to request distributions from the trustee, who may have discretion to make income and principal distributions to them based on the standard provided by the trust agreement. Understanding who holds discretion is also critical. An independent trustee may have broader authority than a trustee who is also a beneficiary or related to one. The structure is intentional and often designed to manage conflicts of interest. It's also important to know when the trust grants a power of appointment, meaning the beneficiary may have some control over how remaining assets are distributed in the future. Interpreting a trust strategically means asking, what access do I have? What standards guide distributions? And what role does the trustee play? And also, how does the structure fit within the broader family strategy? If a trust contains complex provisions or layered distribution standards, working with an experienced advisor or fiduciary professional can help ensure it's interpreted and implemented correctly. As family wealth grows, so does the number of professionals involved in managing it. Most families already have a network that might include an estate planning attorney, CPA, tax team, trustees, and investment advisors. Each plays an important role, but when they operate independently, the responsibility of coordinating them often falls on the family member. Usually that is the beneficiary successor, who is likely the least experienced with the structure they're stepping into. This is where an effective advisor coordination becomes essential. And as a wealth management firm, this is an area where we spend a lot of time helping families create clarity. The first piece often is role alignment. Every advisor needs to understand the family's goals and how their work fits into the broader strategy. For example, a tax strategy can influence an investment decision. and an investment decision can influence the design of a trust or an estate plan. When advisors understand one another's roles, their recommendations often reinforce each other instead of competing. The second piece is information flow. A well-functioning advisory ecosystem is built on efficient communication. This doesn't necessarily mean that every advisor is copied on every piece of email or every document. It means that right information is reaching the right people at the right time. Our advisors often act as the hub, helping ensure strategic information moves where it needs to go. This can mean coordinating with your CPA before a major transaction, aligning with your estate attorney before trust updates, or preparing trustees for the context that they need to make informed decisions. The third piece is unified strategy. When all advisors operate from the same long-term understanding, your values, your principles, your risk profile, and your goals, the quality of decisions increases dramatically. Instead of reacting in individual issues, the family can act proactively and cohesively. And importantly, you don't need a formal family office to benefit from this type of coordination. Many families simply need a central partner, typically the wealth advisor, who can see across the entire landscape and guide conversations. This kind of integration creates consistency today and continues across generations. Engaging with the family office is less about outsourcing responsibility and more about integrating it. Preparing the next generation to steward family wealth requires deliberate development of both financial understanding and personal confidence well before responsibility formally shifts. Families who preserve wealth across generations tend to invest in education early. They focus on how decisions are made and why they matter. Financial literacy is often the first thing people think of in this context, understanding how markets function, how capital compounds, and how current structures operate. But competence also extends beyond numbers. It includes valuable soft skills such as communication skills, leadership awareness, and alignment with the family's long-term objectives. Exposure also plays a meaningful role. Participation in meetings with advisors, involvement in philanthropic discussions, and gradual inclusion in conversations that allow future decision makers to develop familiarity with the family strategy. When the next generation feels informed and prepared, they are more likely to engage constructively and preserve capital thoughtfully. Families with significant wealth often discover that the most persistent challenges are relational. Determining the goals for an overall family wealth strategy can become a source of tension. We often see that families who avoid speaking honestly about values and expectations around wealth often find themselves with avoidable misunderstandings later on. Setting aside dedicated time for family wealth discussions and involving all relevant parties early creates clarity and reduces emotional friction. Another challenge is that emotional complexity that accompanies wealth. Wealth can amplify sensitivities around fairness, contribution, and obligation. Even with a well-structured estate plan, stress can emerge if family members feel decisions were made without their input and without their understanding. Thoughtful coordination with trusted advisors can help facilitate communication and reduce the likelihood of these misunderstandings. A third challenge arises when family members enter discussions only after a major life event, such as a parent's passing or a transfer of wealth has already begun. Waiting until wealth is imminent or already in motion often compresses conversations that ideally would have happened over years. This typically complicates consensus and increases stress. Recognizing these patterns and addressing them early through internal communication and shared context is a core part of a strong family coordination. By now, you've seen how the different elements of family wealth structures work together, from interpreting trust provisions to coordinating advisors and preparing future generations for responsibility. With that foundation in place, the next step is understanding how strategic decisions affect the long-term preservation of wealth. In this next video, we'll explore tax strategy consideration for multi-asset wealth and how thoughtful planning can help families manage complexity while supporting the long-term financial outcomes.